Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Okay, if you haven't guessed already by the title, I'm going to be participating in the Junk Journal July 2022 challenge. So the host is Megs Journals. I'll put a link in my description to her video kicking off the program for July. Now Meg is providing everyone with a series of prompts that can be used daily, or you pick a couple from the list. It's really up to you, and you create something in your journal for this particular prompt that's on the list. And I'm going to participate. I'm going to give myself a few guidelines to sort of restrict where I go with it, because I want it to be just off the top of the head, off the top of the cuff type of collaging. So not too full on like the Journal of Stitchery program, where I spend hours and hours doing needlework. This is just a quick release the brain and just go with the flow. But I have put a few parameters in place, which I'll go through in a minute. But first of all, I just wanted to show you this journal here. Now, I have done a few of the July and January prompts over the years with Meg's journals, but I've never filmed them because my channel wasn't really going. So I just wanted to show you the journal that, as soon as I saw it come up basically on my YouTube, I thought, oh wow, I'll just grab my journal and I'll go for it. But my journal is chockers. It still has plenty of room to play. Like there's little blank spots everywhere. But if I add any more, and that includes doing some stitcheries, like it's nowhere near finished. I've got a mix of vintage papers in here. I've got lots of my favorite images. And then if I was doing a particular project where I had a snippet from something, I just added it to here. So it's like memories of things that I've created in other projects. So it's like the little bits left over that remind me that I did a spread similar to this in another journal. So this is sort of my go-to for the Meg challenge, or if any of the other YouTubers out there create something that inspires me, I come here and do a small snippet of it to sort of just remind me of it. Like I was watching a watercolor lady, so I did some watercolors, and it just gives you somewhere to put it. I had some tatting that was edging on some pink fabric, so that just fit in perfectly. So it's a real eclectic sort of piece, and it is based on one of my favorite Stamperia paper sets. So before it sort of disappeared into oblivion, I pinched a few pages out, built this journal, and it is literally something that I can grab at any time and do a little bit of crafting in it. So it's quite random and has a mix of all sorts of things. So when this prompt come up, I thought, oh, straight away, I need to grab my journal. But as I see, it is busting. It's to the point where, do I pull it apart and rebuild it? See, I've even got things in here. I got some packs of paper from Rachel, and she had made an envelope in with the pack of papers. So I popped it in there. I think Rachel was doing some mark making, so I did a little snippet that was lying on my table and then popped it in just to find a home for it. It's, you know, it's like a collection of all sorts of things. This is also a pack that Rachel had made, and I thought, well, somewhere to pop it. And straight away when I see it, I think of her and the fabrics and the bits and pieces that I've bought from her. So that's what this journal's about. And of course, Meg and her prompts, there's from Rachel. Meg and her prompts are also in here whenever I'm wanting to do something a little creative, or just random things that I've just never find a home for and just don't want to let go into the abyss of journal making. So this is where they sort of end up. And of course, I love Stamperia paper. So lovely, lovely way of using it. I bought some fabric from someone, and eco stamped onto this piece of linen was these leaves, and then I added some flowers, and then I had some foliage from a project that I was doing through work. So I had a sprig lying around, so I put it into the journal. So yeah, I had some wallpaper that I got given to me. So I just put a little piece in the journal to remind me how wallpaper can be used. So there's a little stitchery that was left over from a project, so I just popped it in here. So my fear is that if I continue on too much work in here, it is going to, you know, split the spine. So it really needs a major overhaul. So my first thought was to, you know, work on this. But I've decided that I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave this journal for those random pieces that can just slide in here the one days. So any mail I get or just something left from a project. And I'm going to put this journal away and I'm going to start a new journal. And I'm hoping by the end of July we'll have it complete. Now this journal also has a bit of a story. It's based on the Stamperia papers from the Oriental Garden. Now the plan was in 2020 I was going to go on a cruise that took me from Brisbane right up the Queensland coastline, up through Asia, stopping off at Singapore and China and South Korea, and then finishing in Japan. So then we were going to hop off the boat, the ship, and spend 2 weeks exploring Japan. And my husband and I have never been there, fascinated by the culture and just really wanted to spend a bit of time in their country. So being that I was going to be away for, I think, 31 days, a crafter like myself panicked a little. So I thought what better way to go is to make myself a junk journal to travel with. So I put together this journal and lo and behold, the month that we were to leave, which was March 2020, guess what happened? Yep, I'm sure it's all coming back to you now. The cruise was suspended slowly, port by port, and eventually cancelled. All of the Japanese stuff was cancelled because COVID had hit. So everyone went into lockdown. So for the next 2 years, that journal sat on my shelf, just not being used. I had put a cover on it. I had put together a small suitcase of supplies that I could drag around. I was determined to drag this little bag around with me with everything I needed to journal from Brisbane through to Japan. And I'd come out with this collection of pages all decorated about my journal story. Didn't happen. So the whole sad thing is this was pulled apart. The cover went on to be something else, and I've been left with the pages that I took out of the Stamperia pack that I pre-stitched. I even had them stitched in, so I've got some little holes all ready to go. This was the leftovers from me pulling apart that journal. So I've got quite a few pages that are ready to go. I have leftover paper from the actual kit, some bits and pieces, and in there are some tags and some journal cards and, you know, some random things. I just love the colour scheme. Absolutely love it. It's a wash of all sorts of colours. So I'm going to do the July prompts and somehow apply them to the Japanese theme. And now, those who know me on YouTube for some time, my number one passion is hand sewing in all sorts of elements. So I've not only got, you know, snippets of this journal left, like of this cardstock. What I'm thinking of doing is I want to drag the sewing world into this journal. So my prompts will be very heavily built around sewing. So, which brings me to some of the Japanese styles of sewing. Nice simplistic images, decorative, and of course their fabrics. Oh my goodness. And that was half the thing I was looking forward to when we got to Japan, is having a look at all of their fabrics and textiles that they have within their country. So that never happened, but I have purchased recently from a business here in Australia called BITTERNBYTHEBUG. Now these are Boro stitching fabrics for Japanese inspired crafts. So my thinking is using these bits and pieces that I've purchased from the store. So there's a little bit of everything in my pack. And making my prompts from all of these fabrics. Of course, I'd never need all of them. It'll be just like snippets and pieces from the whole lot. One day I'd love to make a quilt out of it all. But I'm sure I can, you know, pull out of here some elements that would suit my journal. Like that one would be perfect with those colours. So that is what I'm thinking of doing. A Japanese inspired, the holiday that never happened due to the you know what, based on the journal that never happened, the Stamperia Oriental Gardens. So I've got my foundation pages all sorted. I've been collecting fabrics for a little while that are Japanese orientated. So I guess that's going to be my base for my project. Now I've also gone through my stash and found some other pieces that I can use, like I want to play with some denim. So I've got a leg off of a pair of jeans that I've been nibbling at for some time. So I definitely want to play with some denim. I found this piece of suede. Now technically it's not Japanese fabrics, but it's going to bring texture into the piece. Whether I use it or not, who knows? Who knows? And the other thing I've got that I really want to use is I've got this paper. Now, it's not really ordinary paper. As you may know, if you've been watching my channel, my grandmother was a seamstress. So recently I was cleaning out a cupboard to my parents' farm, and in there my mum had put some of her mother's, the seamstress, some of her treasures that we found when we cleaned out her house when she went into a nursing home. She has since passed. She lived to a ripe old age of 97. And long story short, this paper, because she was a dressmaker, she used to use this to draft her patterns. And she was one of those talented girls that would measure you and then build the pattern to suit your body. So in this cupboard, I found quite a few pieces of paper that she never used, but it's got like a slight waxiness sort of feel to it. So it's really good to put under a sewing machine or to stitch through. Well, it's not wax, but it's sort of got a coating on it. So those out there who draft patterns will know what this paper's all about. So I've got about 5 sheets of it, and I've just had it sitting in my cupboard, and I'd love to use it somehow in a journal. So I'm thinking, being that I'm going to be doing some hand sewing, some collage, using the Japanese as my base theme, I'm going to also incorporate some of this paper into it. I had a little tear of it, and it's not easy to tear, but it's going to be lovely, I think, to do some stitching onto. Stitching onto paper is quite a lot of fun. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I don't know if all of these fabrics will work with my base. We'll see. I probably will need to find some red and bring a little bit of raspberry red into the stitching, which will be a lot of fun. So I'm going to create a bit of a working pile of all of these elements: the denim, the suede, the Japanese inspired prints. Some are authentic, some aren't. It says that on the little packs. Like the creams and whites, they aren't authentic. The blue Japanese fabrics, they are authentic. They're like on a linen. And then the indigo dyed fabrics, they aren't authentic. She's crossed that out. But indigo dyeing is sort of part of the textile industry of Japan. So, okay, I'm going to leave the video there. I don't know what this journal will look like at the end. I just want to make a heap of elements that can be used to create a journal. So whether I do a spine that has got a tab, or a traditional sort of fabric covered thing, or a concertina journal. I don't know. Maybe I can do something, I don't know. Who knows? We'll just go on the journey, see what comes of it all. And I'm hoping I can create a bit of a textile inspired Japanese journal. Okay. If you would like to have a look at some of the other artists and what they're doing, I'll put the hashtag Junk Journal July in the description. So for any of you that are not sure what this hashtag thing's all about, it's like when the internet was created, everyone had www. and then their website. So now, as a shortcut to a specific group that are all using that same shortcut, hashtag has become the link between clusters of people or information. So if you do hashtag beauty products, that would take you to the world of beauty products. Goodness knows what that'd look like. But this particular hashtag, Junk Journal July, if everyone uses it on their videos, it will take you to the group who are all doing this particular challenge. So if you're ever wondering what that hashtag's about, that's my understanding. And it's hosted by Meg, and her channel is called Megs Journals. Okay, I think that is it. I will stop rambling and have a little bit of a think about what's going to come of all this. Okay, everyone, I will see you with a video either the 1st of July, if not very, very close to the beginning of July, with the start of this project. Okay, bye for now.